On this video, we'll be looking at how to multiply the problems that were on our Chapter 6, Number 2 quiz. These are the multiplication problems. Remember that you don't need to get a common denominator when you multiply, but you do need to change all of your numbers to improper fractions if necessary. Also, we want to simplify before we multiply because you can see on number 10, you're going to get into some very large numbers if you can't see where to simplify. I've been wanting you to practice simplifying with your homework so when you come to something like this, you're really ready and you're familiar with simplifying and you're an expert at it. All right, let's look at number 5. With number 5, you can simplify the 4 and the 8. The greatest common factor of those two numbers is 4. 4 will go into 4 once, and 4 goes into 8 twice. So you take this new number that you've written here, and since we can't simplify anymore, we say 1 times 3 is 3, 11 times 2 is 22, and you double check and make sure you can't simplify, and if not, then that is your final answer. On number 6, because we have mixed numbers, we have to get improper fractions first. So what you do when you're changing them from mixed numbers to improper fractions, multiply 4 times 8, which is 32, plus the 3, and that's 35/4. The reason that you do that is just to put it in a form that you can multiply. This is still the same number. If you had 8 whole pizzas and 3/4 of a pizza, if they were all sliced into slices of 4, all of those 8 pizzas, all together, the 8 whole pizzas and the 3 would equal 35 slices of fourths. So it's the same number. You haven't done anything to the value. You've just changed the format of it. Let's change the next one. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 4 is 18. And that goes over the original denominator. These are the same value. Now you ask yourself, can I simplify? Well, one of them is fairly obvious because the 4 and the 18 are both even numbers. So we know that 2 will go into both of those. So let's start there. 2 goes in there twice, and 2 goes in there 9 times. That helps a little bit, but still we've got this big 35. 7 and 35 share a factor of 7. 7 goes in there once, and 7 goes in there 5 times. Now you just simply multiply 5 times 9, which is 45, and 2 times 1, which is 2. At this point, you have to take this improper fraction and turn it into a mixed number. So what we'll do is we'll say 2 goes into 45 22 times, and what's left over? There's 1 left over. That goes over the 2. This is just simply a division problem. 45 divided by 2 equals 22 and 1/2. So there's your final answer for that one. Number 10 was difficult for a lot of people, and this is where I wanted you to have experience with simplifying before you get to something like this. 13 actually goes into both the 13 and the 39. So it goes in here once, and it goes in there 3 times. Looking at 14 and 35 should ring a bell that 7 is a factor of both of those. 7 goes in there 2 times, and 7 goes in there 5 times. Now, if you saw one of these and not the other, it still would have made things a lot easier for you with simplifying. So when you multiply them across, it would be 2 over 15, and that would be your final answer. Some other answers that came from that one, unsimplified answers, were 14 over 105, depending on how you did your simplifying. This is if you had not simplified at all. 182 over 1365. Let's see, I think there was another one. 26 over 195. Now, all of these, if you got to this point, you would want to, I'm going to do this one for instance, use the strategy of cake division and try to simplify this. You might not see this right away, but 3 goes into I'm sorry, not 3, 7, you can see that 14 is going to have a factor of 2 and 7 and 14. And so you know that 2 is not going to go in there. And so you might try 7 and see if 7 will go in there. That would be one strategy that you could do. 7 is going to go in there twice, and 7 is going to go in there. If you did the division, you would find that 7 goes in there 15 times. So that's a tough one if you didn't see it up here, but it can be simplified. Let's look at number 13. This is difficult because it has an integer rule with it. Now, a negative times a positive is always going to be a negative. And just so I don't get myself wrapped into multiplying and forget about that, I like to always write down my negative before I even start anything. That way I won't forget about it. I can see that this can be simplified both directions. 7 goes in there once and 7 goes in there twice. 5 goes in there once and 5 goes in there 3 times. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. Now that strategy worked really well for me because if I got myself busy doing all this simplifying, I could easily forget about that negative sign there. So that's how you multiply fractions.